First up, armed with tear gas, Venezuelan police faced off against anti-government protesters in Caracas. Demonstrators are demanding a recall referendum in a bid to oust embattled President Nicolas Maduro. Well, thousands have taken to the streets in several cities across the country over the past week. This amid a spiralling economic crisis and a 60-day state of emergency that gives the military sweeping powers.
Protesters and security forces facing off in a third day of opposition rallies. This 1,000-strong group of Venezuelans descended on downtown Caracas on Wednesday to urge the country's authorities to fast-track a referendum to end Nicolas Maduro's rule. And their calls were met with tear gas, sending them running in all directions.
We're tired of the corruption. We're tired of queuing up. We're tired of being smacked in the face with this supposed economic war, which does not exist, Maduro. This economic war is your war against us.
Of course we're going to continue gathering in the streets until we have freedom in Venezuela and we put this country on the path to progress.
Defiantly, the demonstrators continued, waving their banners and chanting anti-Maduro slogans. The protests come amid an economic crisis that has for months gripped the South American nation. Today, Venezuelans are forced to queue for hours in the searing heat to buy basic food supplies. But for now, the 53-year-old President Maduro continues to dismiss the push against him. Obstinate, despite the Congress rejecting his state of emergency decree. The socialist leader claims the adversity he's facing is fueled by a US-led plot to remove him from his post.
Sanam Chantier reporting there. Well, for more on this story, let's cross to Marco Vicenzino, Latin America specialist and director at Global Strategy Project. He joins me now live from New York. A very good evening to you, Marco. Thanks for joining us here on France 24. Now, in Venezuela, we're seeing a full-blown state of emergency. Details of the decree were made public on Monday. Is this President Nicolas Maduro in panic mode?
He's definitely worrying. I think the greatest threat and the most imminent threat to Maduro is not just the political opposition, but the ordinary, we call the Venezuelan street. Ordinary Venezuelans, many of them actually who were originally backers and supporters of Chavez, being deprived of basic supplies, food shortages, energy shortages, blackouts. The daily survival is it's very difficult. So many of these ordinary citizens are beginning to take things into their own hands. You're seeing looting. So it's not just a political protest in the streets, but it's also basic citizens rising up and taking action because they're being deprived of their basic rights. Remember, Venezuela is a country that has greater crude oil reserves, more than Saudi Arabia, and to be reduced to this current state is a result of years of mismanagement, economic mismanagement, years also of corruption, of cronyism, and ordinary citizens are beginning to rise up. It's not just in Venezuela, but you see this anti-corruption wave and trend throughout Latin America, Brazil, Guatemala, and many other countries you've seen in recent months, that ordinary citizens are beginning to take action. It's not coming from the top down, but from the bottom up.
Okay, well, what about Maduro himself? What can he do now? Because he has extended this state of emergency. Where does he go from here?
He's going to take force, strong arm means. For Maduro and the Chavistas, politics is a zero-sum game. What I mean by that, there's no such thing as power sharing. It's winner take all, and they will do whatever is necessary to preserve, promote, and to advance what they call the Bolivarian revolution. They won't give up power, and it won't be done peacefully, and it won't be done easily. For them, like I said, it's a zero-sum game. And you saw 2 years ago in 2014, there were many anti-Maduro protests, and they resulted in over 40 deaths. So there is a precedent to this government's ability to take action on the streets, if necessary, through violent means.
And what about the anti-government protesters? What about the opposition? Where can they go now?
Yes.
Because the recall referendum's
opposition
been ruled out, hasn't it?
Yeah. That hasn't been ruled out. It's right now they're trying to push for it. The thing is that the Chavista government, the Maduro government, control every institution and organ in government. They control the courts up to the Supreme Court. They control the Electoral Council. These are all institutions through which a recall referendum has to go through. So the reason they get the signatures, right now they have 1.8 million, and they need 4 million to push forward with the process. But what happens is that institutionally there'll be obstacles because the Chavistas, they're stacked in the government institutions, even the state oil company. So every means of power they control. So as a result, right now, the organized political opposition, what they're trying to do is channel the anger of the streets into peaceful protests. And their main means is obviously peaceful protest. The minute they begin violence, they take violent means, that'll provide a pretext to the Maduro and the Chavista government to crack down on them and provide them of their basic civil liberties and rights. So basically what the government's hoping for is that the peaceful protests become violent, and that'll provide them with the necessary pretext to crack down even harder.
Using that state of emergency. Okay. Right, Marco, thanks very much for giving your analysis here on France 24. That was Marco Vicenzino from Global Strategy Project.